the only way I was going to feel better about myself is if someone else gave me the love I crave so much, you know? So I was putting all my investments in this hope that other people would come and give me a corrective experience and give me the love that would complete me that I couldn't seem to find.
I was pretty hard on myself. And I realized recently, I looked back and I was like, oh my gosh, it's been months since I've been really mean to myself. Wow. I was taken aback.
Like, wait a minute, man. I don't even have any idea how to do that. Can I do that? You mean I could do that? You mean I could take that same energy that I've been trained my whole life to always project onto my pursuit of the other and turn it onto myself? Such a wild, radical idea.
A relaxed mind creates inspiration, connection, fresh ideas, and solutions to intractable problems. We're going to explore how you can relax into presence. This is the Releasing Mental Tension podcast with Rich Life. I feel like self-love is a misunderstood topic, and that is to our detriment. Like, it really kind of messes us up when we think it's something that it really isn't. And I'm going to have a conversation today with my guest, Scott Grusky. Scott is an amazing man. I met him at a retreat and we shared an Airbnb together. It was called the Mystic Lodge. And it really was mystical and magical. And I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. I filmed another episode with you before, but this one is going to be a little special because we're going to be exploring a topic that is very near and dear to Scott's heart and my heart too, self-love. And we are also in the middle of creating a group coaching experience that, if you're interested, if this resonates with you, we would love to invite you to, and you're welcome to reach out to us and have conversations about it. But for today, I really would love you to just kind of settle in, get connected, and hear what Scott has to say about self-love. He was just sharing something so profound that I said, you need to stop and save it because this is gold. So welcome, Scott. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Rich, for inviting me to do this because, yes, it's very true. Self-love is absolutely my favorite subject to talk about. And I could not agree with you more about how it has a tendency to be misunderstood because it's a very slippery topic and one that, we get almost no guidance in growing up in school. There's just so much conditioning that kind of discourages us from even considering what self-love might be. But the dividends that it pays to begin that inquiry are, for me, so incredible that I'm just delighted to be able to share whatever we can on this subject.
Yeah, it'll be a really cool exploration. And I loved what you were saying about how a lot of people think that self-love is selfish.
Yeah.
Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, there's kind of this default, because so commonly when you hear people talking about their troubles in their relationships, for instance, you will so frequently hear people describe what they're perceiving in their partner might be a little narcissistic. That's a phrase we hear all the time, that we just sort of throw out that somebody's behaving narcissistically. And there's this kind of tendency to believe that if you're advocating in your own interest, perhaps there's something wrong with that. Perhaps that's selfish. And I'm not saying that it couldn't be. There are definitely cases where somebody might be behaving in a way that would be selfish, but self-love really when you start to explore it, you discover so many funny things that are going against what one might, as a default, think. For instance, what we were talking about, I believe, if I recall correctly, is that, interestingly enough, the more you practice self-love, really the more available you are for others, to be present for others. Because really, how can you expect to show up and be able to really be a great listener for your friends and partners until you have tended to yourself in a deep way, right? It's just not possible. And yet, no one ever tells us, wait, before you really start working on your friendships, maybe work on yourself, you know? And so I just feel like there's layers and layers and layers to that understanding.
Yeah. I think that one of the elements that people can misunderstand too is they like think that they might hear something like that and then they think that they need to take on this giant project of making myself better or even just making myself okay. And that feels overwhelming. That feels scary because we don't know how to do that.
Yes.
And I think in a lot of the times we're doing it in a way that isn't very loving to
Right.
ourselves. We're beating ourselves up or pushing ourselves forward in a way that is trying to make ourselves better. But I would love for people in our audience to hear that it's not about making yourself a project.
Right.
It
So
is,
true.
it's more of an orientation
Yeah. And
of,
it can be incredibly fun,
yeah,
and it feels good. It's not a project. It doesn't have to be hard. In fact, there's nothing that needs to be hard about it all, you know? It's more of a delight. But you make such a great point because all of our conditioning points to this, misunderstanding that it's going to be hard, which I think, is very innocent, makes perfect sense that people feel that way. And I felt that way my whole life. I just have to disclose, actually, it's very, very important, I feel, that I disclose to everyone that I probably was one of the most resistant human beings to self-love to ever walk this earth. I mean, I know we can't really rank it, but that's the best way that I can explain to you. I had so much resistance to it. And one of the reasons I had resistance to it, and I just wonder if it resonates with anybody else, one of the reasons I had so much resistance to self-love was because I felt that the only way I was going to feel better about myself is if someone else gave me the love I crave so much. You know? So I was putting all my investments in this hope that other people would come and give me a corrective experience and give me the love that would complete me that I couldn't seem to find, which is completely innocent because most every human being has some ways in which they were dissatisfied with the parenting they received. I mean, it's just absolutely normal that you might land on a few places where you didn't get what you wanted from your parents, right?
mm,
And so it's natural to think, okay, I didn't get this, this, and this from my parents. Maybe if I have the relationship I'm seeking, that will be a corrective experience that will address those holes that I didn't get in childhood. Completely natural and understandable that you would look for that and want that, right? And that's what I proceeded to do for, I don't know, 40, 50 years. All along, absolutely refusing to ever go inward and say, maybe I could do that maybe I could take that job on for myself. Maybe I don't have to saddle that job on somebody else,
mm,
you know? So it just kind of cracks me up because I had so much resistance. But why? This is the funny thing about it. When I started to actually, and by the way, I did not start to practice self-love until I truly hit bottom, until again and again and again, I wasn't finding other human beings able to fill that want and need that I've been carrying around my whole life, which is kind of an unrealistic expectation anyway, really honestly, because we each have such unique little holes in us that yearn to be filled. how could we really expect somebody else to magically come in and do it exactly the way we need them to do it? How could we really even expect that?
It kind of has to be an inside job. And I think I kind of realized that, or at least a part of me did in my journey before I connected with the understanding that we both share and connect with. And I kind of took that on, but I did it in a way that wasn't helpful. I did it from fear.
Hmm.
I filled notebooks full of affirmations that said, I love myself, I am enough. And continuing on, I filled notebooks. You can look through them. And it just felt like it didn't connect. It felt like it was just words. And it wasn't until I realized where it was coming from. It was coming from this place of neediness and fear.
Yeah,
And that was leading me astray. And I had to feel into that. I
yeah,
I couldn't, it was like I was coming to this well and trying to pull water up and coming up empty again and again and again and again. And then I have to look in a different place.
yeah.
And
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
and that's a part of this journey is really feeling it out
Yeah,
and finding the dead ends.
yeah,
Like that, I think a lot of people get frustrated
yeah,
and are like, well, I'm not finding it here. But
right,
that's really great news because you know where not to look.
right,
And you do have to open yourself up to a new dimension of clarity in yourself, of connection in yourself.
right.
And
And I
that's
just so love the way you say, and it doesn't have to be hard,
mhm.
because I think that might be what sometimes turns people off, is it does seem daunting when you've got years and years of conditioning to be looking outside. It seems very daunting to start to look inside. I totally get that. The thing that's funny to me, though, that sometimes cracks me up is how, when we fall head over heels in love with somebody else, it's so fun, right? It's so fun to think about little things you might do for this person that are going to get them excited. And it just is a big joy, right? So why would it be so hard to do that? Why can't we fall head over heels in love with ourselves and take that same glee to this project of self-love?
Tell us more about that because that seems like some people might think it's too good to be true.
Yeah, I mean, no, and I get it. And that's the thing. We're dealing with layers and layers and layers of conditioning. I mean, this entire culture is built on these, pop songs and movies about the white knight in shining armor kind of story, right? That's what everything is revolving around in our society. And so it makes sense that turning that on its head and looking inward is almost like a revolution. It's almost like you know, like an act of almost, I don't know, complete. Yeah, it's kind of like a leap of faith. Like, wait a minute, man, I don't even have any idea how to do that. Can I do that? You mean I could do that? You mean I could take that same energy that I've been trained my whole life to always project onto my pursuit of the other and turn it onto myself? Such a wild, radical idea. And yet, it's actually as easy, like you said, that's the thing that's so critical. It's not hard. It's that once you do it just once, like you said, it's the kind of thing through experiment, try different things, but you land on just one thing that's fun. And then you say, oh, it's fun to love yourself. It's not hard.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not necessarily the activity that you're doing. Like a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to be loving to myself if I bake myself cookies or take a bubble bath or whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people will pursue it in that way or resist pursuing it in that way because they
Yes.
think that that's selfish, like you said at the beginning. But that's just an action. What we're looking for really is a new way of being with
Yes.
yourself.
Yes.
That is a powerful transformative space that you can access.
Yes. You're so right. It isn't about the action. It's actually just about the feelings state.
Yeah.
You might be interacting with another person, and you could choose to feel a certain kind of resistance or maybe even be triggered by something they're doing. Or you could just land on a space of feeling um, safe and beautiful. You have both options available at any moment. It's a moment by moment thing. So the practice of self-love doesn't have to be done by yourself. It can definitely be done with other people. It's just in the moment, how you are giving yourself space, how you are, you know, tending to your own feeling states in that moment.
Mm. And that doesn't mean don't do nice things for yourself. You can
Right.
buy yourself flowers, but it also means really paying attention to where you're coming from and letting your feelings guide you in a way that's really beneficial. Because I think a lot of people, they can be so hard on themselves and so not very loving to themselves,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
challenging to themselves and masochistic almost, very innocently, because
Yes.
that's a habit that they've picked up on that in some way serves them. I
Yeah.
did me. I was pretty hard on myself. And I realized recently, I looked back and I was like, oh my gosh, it's been months since I've been really mean to myself. Wow. I was taken aback because it was such a habit. And habits can change.
Yeah.
We have the ability to look at habits in a fresh way. It doesn't mean that you have to create a new habit. You
Right.
might. A new habit that is more self-loving is definitely better than an old habit that is self-loathing. But it does mean slowing down and listening to yourself. I feel like that's really key in what I'm hearing maybe you say.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm still stunned by something you said when you said that it's been months since you can remember being mean to yourself.
Yeah.
That seems so powerful to me. And it makes me wonder if you can remember what was going on for you in that early stage of transitioning to a person that was saying mean things to yourself to somebody that now hardly does at all.
Mm. Well, I really started to understand my mind better. I started to understand my emotions. And if maybe if somebody could really take something away from this, it might be helpful for them to really hear this. Because what I thought my emotions were telling me were all about my external circumstances. I thought my emotions were telling me about how upsetting my wife was being, or how challenging my job was, or how much of a failure I was if I messed up.
Mm.
But now I really understand that the emotions are a feedback system to my thinking. And that's all they can ever tell me about. They can't go outside of me. They don't know anything outside of me. They can only be a reflection of my inner world. And that means that if I'm really present with them and I don't take all of those thoughts to heart,
Yeah.
then they can pass by. And
Right.
that's really how I got out of the habit, is I let my emotions guide me back to myself.
Yeah. That is so deep, Rich. I love that because I feel like I mean, we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours because honestly, that is the whole thing right there. I feel like you've just kind of provided the lock and key to this whole pursuit of self-love because I think that it's so easy for us to be seduced into thinking that we're living in the external world. And once we get sucked out there, that's where all the problems happen because now we're reactive to all that stuff out there. But when we take it back in, like you're describing, and recognize that our emotions are just bounded by our own being, right? Now we have a certain kind of agency. We can actually start to work with that. You know, that's something that we can work with. It's not really possible. We don't control the external world. We don't have the levers to fiddle with any of that, really. We can respond. We can choose how to respond to stuff out there, but um, I think so often we get confused and start to think that we're living out there, and we're living in here. Once we get clear that we're living in here, now we can start to do the real work, which really is self-love.
Wow. And that work feels more exciting when it's coming with that new paradigm, that new understanding of, oh, I don't have to worry about the outside circumstances.
Yes,
I can really drop them. And sometimes that's harder than others. I still get caught up. I know that everybody still does.
absolutely.
But it's a degree of difference. It doesn't last as long for me most of the time.
Right.
So that creates a sense of freedom that is a gift that I would like to share with other people. And I think you would too.
100%. Yes, because it's kind of almost funny. I mean, because I can report something very similar to what you reported about not being, I thought was a huge thing you said. I still have to go back to that you have not had mean thoughts for months. And I mean, that is tangible, that is real. And that honestly, how can you really even begin to quantify what a big deal that is for how you experience life going forward? It's enormous, right? Am I fair in saying that?
Yeah.
And I can report something very similar. And that's what's so exciting. That's where the magic is that we can actually have hugely better quality of life and that it's available for all of us.
And it's through this self-love.
Yes.
Well, this I can tell is the beginning of many conversations. Really, it's a continuation because we've been talking about it for a while now.
Yes.
But it is the beginning of a new exploration that I'm excited to be on with you, Scott.
Oh, I'm super excited too. And I love peeling away layer after layer
Mhm.
because there's no limit to how much we can practice self-love. There's no limit to how much love we can, bring to ourselves and thereby to others. It's boundless.
Hmm. Cool. Well, we will continue. To be continued if you're listening, and look for more resources. I'm going to add in our websites as well at the bottom links for this podcast episode so that you can do a little bit of research. We'll be having more conversations around this, more podcast episodes. We're going to be doing a live webinar as well. And eventually a coaching group is going to get together. And if you want to be a part of that, here's your invitation.
Sounds very exciting. I really look forward to continuing this process.
Awesome. This is the Releasing Mental Tension podcast with Rich Life. I'm on a mission to help people release their mental tension because I know that it helps them to be more capable, creative, and compassionate human beings. And I need your help. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you'd like more resources, visit richliferealization.com. Your vibrant life is a single thought away.